Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how you can have multiple scenes in NetBeans with SceneBuilder, as many scenes as you like, and also I'll give you an extra twist at the end where I'll show you how to move the 5 lines of crucial code to a utility class, so you can just use those and call those whenever you need them, and it just means you're not writing that same 5 lines of code again and again and again every time we want to change scenes. So I'll show you what other videos might show you on the internet, but I'll show you a way to streamline your code, shorten things down, so it's just 1 line of code to change scenes. Very simple. Okay, so we're going to be doing this sort of thing, where you can have multiple scenes in Java. For example, this could be a main menu, and we're going to a data entry screen or a report screen, and you can have multiple buttons here going to multiple different screens. It's the sort of thing you need to do for a lot of projects. Okay, and so I will be showing you this utility class where I've written a method change to scene, which does the work. We pass in the parameters we need, and so we can just call that whenever we need to change scenes in our code instead of writing 5 nasty lines of code. Okay, so that's coming up later in the video. We'll develop it the easy way to start with, writing the 5 nasty lines every time we want to change scene. Okay, but stay tuned to the end, and I'll show you how to do it. So it's just 1 line of code to change scenes, and just reuse the utility.java in all your projects in the future. Never have to write that code again. Okay. Anyway, enjoy the video. Hope it's useful. Thanks for watching. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go File, New Project, JavaFX, JavaFXML Application. Okay, so choose JavaFX and JavaFXML Application, and go New. And I'm just going to call mine, multi-scene, multiple scenes. Okay, leave everything else. That's where my projects have been stored in the temp folder. Everything else is fine. Just click Finish. That's all I changed. Just change that multiple scenes there to project name. And click Finish. If you want to save it in different folders, you can. Just choose Browse and choose another folder. Okay, so there's our basic application starting, and we're ready to go. Let's now go into our source tree, and we're going to double click on our FXML file. And there's SceneBuilder opening. Just resize it so it's the right window. There we go. And so we're going to click Me button there. And when that's clicked on, and we know what it's called in the code, so that's what's referred to in the code. And that's the handler that runs. So we're in the code section now over here in the inspector. So that's the ID that we refer to it, or the name that we refer to it in the code. And that's the method that runs when we click on that method. Or click on that button. Okay, let's go back into our code. And that's it here. That's the handle button. Okay, so this is the code we're going to change if we have another scene. We're going to make it say click me goes to another scene, and then we'll have it click me back, which takes us back to the main scene. Okay. Okay, so we need to add another scene. So we're going to go up to our package name now, which is multiple scenes. And I'm going to go New, Other Class. And I'm going to go JavaFX, empty JavaFXML. I could have chosen that for the pop-up menu as well. I'm just showing you the slightly longer way, because we might be going through this thread later in another future video. So this is usually the best way to go. JavaFX, MDFXML type, and then we'll call it Scene2, and click Next. And now don't be careful, you've got to make sure you click the Use Java controller. And we want to, so it says Scene2 controller. So we want a controller for every scene. You can put them all into one scene, all the controller code in one scene. I just think that makes your project messy. It's generally better to have separate controllers, 1 controller per scene, for what we're doing anyway. Okay, click Next, and Finish. Okay, so the Scene2 FXML is created, and also the Scene2 controller. Okay, and the controller's just got to initialize and nothing else in there. And the Scene2, if we double click on it, it's just an empty scene inside SceneBuilder. Okay, so far so good. Let's add some controls. So we'll add a button, and we'll add a label, and we're going to add a whole lot more if we wanted to. Label, and Scene2. Biggish font, 24 do, button 2, return to main menu, whatever you want to call it, scene 1, main menu, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I've got a button there and a label, just to let us know we're on that scene 2 page. Okay, click on the button and go expand a little code area down here on the right, and we'll give it a name of return to menu button. Okay, and down here on action, there's no handlers yet added in there, so we need to add a handler to our code, which is what we'll do now. Okay, so back to NetBeans in our scene 2 controller. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is just grab this first scenes controller and we'll paste it over here as well. I usually just go down to the end and paste it. And it says I'm going to do some imports, and you click OK. Yep, everything's fine. So now if we click that, if we wind it up to the other button in SceneBuilder and click the button, we'd see the label change to Hello World. Okay, which we don't want that to happen. And so what we want now is some code. Okay, so we're going to write the code in here that now switches us back. Well, let's wire up this handler first. So this is in our scene 2 controller. So this is really our return to main menu button handler. Okay, so we're going to rename that so it's got a meaningful name. Save it, Control S to save it. Okay, and go back to our scene builder. And over here, this we want to choose this action now. It'll get there eventually. To main menu handler button. Okay, save that, Control S. Go back to our code. And that should be what we just entered there inside the scene builder. Just make sure Control V to paste it again. Yep, that's all fine. That should be showing up in a drop down here, but scene builder, yeah, a little bit quirky sometimes. Back to our code, and down in here we want to write some special code. So we want to say parent root equals fxml loader dot load. This has got to be all the right case. Java's very case sensitive. Get class dot get resource, and then inside here we're opening up the resource for the scene 2. This button here is going to return to the main menu, so it's going to open up the controller, the scene that was loaded when our project first ran, which is this one, the one that's loaded in our multiple scenes.java. So we're going to copy that XML file name there and paste it into our scene 2 controller. Okay, that's the scene we're going to open. Semicolon at the end, and then scene stage equals new scene root, and then we're going to stage, declare a stage. Sorry, that should be scene equals new scene root. So we're creating a scene based on our XML that we just loaded, which is our GUI interface. Now we're creating a stage in which to store that scene. So stage, we can call them different names. I mean, scene and root, lowercase versions are pretty lame, but that's all we need. We're just going to use these variables very temporarily. Equals new equals. So we're going to create a stage from our main window, or from our window where we want to store the scene. Okay, so it's stage. Bit of nasty code coming up. Get event dot get source. Okay, so you've got to make sure there's round brackets around that, and then round bracket around that down to the end here. Okay, so there's round brackets around that whole node.get event.get source, and then so that's given us as our source of where the stage is going to be stored. Or where the scene's going to be stored. Get scene dot get window. Okay, so we're based on where the event occurred, we're getting the source of the event, getting the scene where that event occurred. In other words, the scene of the window, and then we're getting the window, and we're storing that in the stage object. A couple of errors coming up here. So we're going to do an import for XML loader. We're going to do an import for scene parent. We'll do an import for... Oh, yeah, we've got a throws exception here. Throws exception on the method header. Okay, so I've added that in as well. And what else we got? And an import for JavaFX.scene, yep. Another one for fx.stage. Another one for node. And it's fxscene.node. Got to make sure you choose the right node one. Don't choose the XML SOAP. It's going to be that first JavaFX.scene.node. If you choose another node, there's other nodes in Java, your code won't work. So it's going to be got to make sure you choose the fx.scene.node import. Almost there, one more line or two more lines. So we're going to set the stage.set scene to the scene we just created. We've loaded from our XML, and then we're going to swap to that stage.show. Okay, so just running through the set scene. Just running through the code again. We're loading the XML that contains our main menu scene. We're creating a new scene. We're creating a stage where to store the scene, and we're creating the stage on where the button click occurred. So we're getting the source of the button, getting the scene, getting the window, so that we can put that scene into that window. We're setting the scene to the scene we just loaded from XML, which is stored in the root parent, and then we're showing the scene. Okay, that makes it visible on screen. Okay, so that's the 5 lines of nasty code we've had to write there, and that switches it back to the main menu. We should now be able to compile and run, okay? But our code won't do anything because we're not switching from the main menu to scene 2. So we need to write that code. Main menu to scene 2 now. So this is where our main menu is, okay? And that's our button handler. So we want to grab that code we just written, grab these 5 lines, highlight them in Control-C, go to the main controller here, and you could just comment out those lines if you like. Just comment out those 2. Don't need them. We can take them out if you wanted to. I've pasted those new lines in, Control-V, and Java's recognised we need some more imports, so click OK. Make sure again you got the right node one. I had it where I put the wrong node one in once, and my code was doing all strange stuff, and that wouldn't work. And here, the only thing we want to change is the scene we're loading, and we want to load that scene there, which is scene2.fxml. So scene2.fxml. And that should be it. So let's do a compile. Oh, got to put a throws IO exception on there. Throws. So you've got to put at least throws IO exception on there. But I just generally just use exception. Throws exception. Everything's fine there. Let's do another clean build. Okay, no errors. Okay, get that down to the minimum. Let's do a run. And there's our main menu appearing, or our main screen, a scene that's loaded by default in multiple scenes.java. When we click me, there's our scene 2. And when I go return to main menu, we return to the main menu. Okay, so that's how you have multiple scenes in FXML. Okay. Now it does mean that you write this same 5 lines of code in multiple buttons. So let's do an extra little bit, where I'll show you how you can save writing that same 5 lines of code over and over and over again each time you're changing scenes. Okay, so let's come up here and we'll go new, and we'll just go Java class. Okay, new Java class, and I'll call it utility. Okay, and what I'm going to do is put all the code that changes scenes into this one utility class. So we write the code once and once only, and then you can just drag and drop that utility class on your other projects and reuse it wherever you like. Okay, and so we want to grab just one of the bits of code. So I'll grab that one and paste that in. Okay, and yep, all the imports are right. So we'll just add those. Yep, that's all good. Thank you, NetBeans. And we'll call this public. We'll make it a static method, so we don't have to create objects of type utility. We can just call a method directly. Public static. Void, we'll make it a void method. We could make it a Boolean method or an int method if you wanted to return a value to return how the scene change went. And we'll just call it change to scene. So put an open curly there, go down to the end. Hit enter and close the curly, so our curlies are open and closed. That's fine. Okay, so what does this method need to do its job? Well, it needs the scene, which is that chap there. So we're going to put the scene up in the header. String scene file string. What else does it need? It needs the event that caused the change scene to be run. In other words, the button that was clicked. So we need to pass through the event. We'll pass through an A event. Okay. So now down here, instead of event, we use A event. We're using through the event that was passed through. So A event, change that event to A event. And the other thing we need, you'll see there with the error on it, is the class name. Okay. And so I'll pass through the class. A class. So instead of going get class, we now go A class. Okay. So we're going to pass through the class name when we call this method. Okay. And we're going to use that scene. So we're going to replace that with the scene. So we've got the scene being loaded that's passed in. We've got the class that's been passed in being used to load the resources, and A event being used to pinpoint which scene we need to update and where the window is. Okay. The only thing missing is we need to put a throws exception on here. Okay. Now the way I think about these things is I think the class is most important. So I generally move that to the start. So I go click on that and go Control X, delete the comma, and put that as the first parameter. Okay. I think the event's the second next important thing because that's the thing it needs next. Okay. And then we've got the scene. Okay. So I like passing them through in that order: the class name or the class, the event, and then the scene we want to change through, because that seems to be the order of things in importance for me. Okay. You can have them the other way around if you like. This is the way I like to have it. Okay. I like having my parameters in decreasing order of importance if I can. I know. Okay, so we've got this new, need an import for event, and that's fixed up that. Oh, yeah, there's Java doc missing as well. We don't really care about the Java docs at this stage. Now we just need to call this method. So it's called change to scene. It's in the utility class. It's a static method. So we're going to call it with example call, example use. It's going to be utility dot change to scene dot class event and my xml dot fxml. So that's an example of calling it. Okay, and but we're going to substitute what the class is and what the event is and what the XML is. So we're going to replace 5 lines of code, spread multiple places through our code whenever we change projects, whenever we change scenes, down to 1 line of code, which is much better. Okay, so let's make use of that inside our Scene2 controller. And so there's the call, and we're changing to the main menu document XML, which is fxml document. The event being called is event, which is right, which is passing through event, and the class we're passing through is we're going to go get class. Okay. And then we can just take out this other code. Delete it or take it out, whatever you like. And we've got there was a dot in there, sorry, there's a dot. Was that in that utility as well? No dot. No dot there before the bracket. And we must put get class there because that's what we're going to be doing most of the time, get class. That's an example use of our, so get class, event, my XML, whatever it's called. Okay, we're going to be using get class most often as a parameter for our projects anyway. Okay, let's now copy that and go to our other controller where we changed to scene2, and we'll paste that in, and we'll just comment all that code out. We could remove it if we wanted to. We're just going to comment it out. Okay, and so it's get class, that doesn't change. Event doesn't change. All we need to do is say what scene to load, and it's scene2.fxml. So as you can see, we've reduced 5 lines of code, which would be repeated every time we change scenes in our project, down to 1 line of code, and a nice little utility class which we can reuse in all of our projects from now on. Okay. And the only thing we might need to change is is the package name, although you can get away without packages at all, but we won't go down that road. That's another complexity. So you probably want to change that package name if you change projects as well. Copy the utility.java to another project, and just make sure the package names updates to whatever that is there, and you'll be fine. Compile and run. And you can see everything's still working fine with our utility change to scene method being used. So much better, saves us code. Now we can change scenes even easier. And we could even use that down. We could almost use that here, but we don't have an event, so we need to just change our code slightly. I don't think we want to go down that. This is enough for this video. Okay, so changing scenes, you need 5 lines of code, which is a little bit nasty, but if you put them in a utility class and call a method to use that code whenever you need it, you can save yourself a lot of replication, and you never have to write the code again. Never have to write that code again. It'll be there forever whenever you need it. Okay. So I hope that was useful. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and keep programming.